Level Up Latina partners with working women and mamas alike to guide them in achieving fulfilling career and life goals through financial empowerment, professional or leadership coaching, and personal wellness. Find the unique coaching you need to succeed.
You're listening to Vettel, Ceci, and Irene, and we are Level Up Latina.
Welcome back to another episode of the Level Up Latina podcast. This is podcast episode 295. And today we get together. We are here today. We are gathered here today to talk about the career, workplace flexibility, and kind of how to manage this work expectations or work responsibilities as las mujeres de la casa and still show up as moms during this summer. We're putting in the summer aspect into it because sometimes during the summer, routines go out the window, kids are out of school. And if you don't have kids, it's the summer, so you want to enjoy the summer. You're like, how do I do this? But we kind of want to focus on that career workplace flexibility and how to manage that. And we'll get into conversations, and you guys know how it always goes. We might drift off of the convo and talk about another thing. But for now, we want to know how to manage this and how to work that home and the work responsibilities and still show up at 100% in whichever capacity we can for this summer. But before we go into it, I'll check in with Ceci and Irene, my co-hosts. ¿Cómo se encuentran hoy?
Good. Enjoying this Sunday with my co-host today.
Bien aquí doing a little bit of like anti-arruga self-care. I was telling you guys off record. A ver qué tal. I'm going to come out looking like a baby.
Oh, dang. Just came out of your mama's coochie. Just kidding. Thank you, Mom. I'm just kidding. Recording today, and then we were looking at Ceci through this video, our chat, and it looked like she had some little white spots, and we're like, what is it? Could it be the sun beaming funny? Does she have a new light? But
neither of you guys asked. Like, that's funny because ninguna preguntó nada.
Girl, we respect
I was going to, actually funny, but I was like, let's just wait until we're not in between shows.
Yeah, but I'm glad you clarified that for us, and we were wondering why it looked different. But you're going to look like a baby soon, so I'm glad. But yeah, chicas, entonces, pretty much like this conversation is more of like, I'm back to work new, but then there's some of us that have try to find a way, I'm sure, that how do we get that flexibility at work and to be able to show up for the things that we need. You know, we were talking about, like earlier I mentioned, like kids ceremonies and end of year things. And there's the whole summer that happens and our kids are not in their usual routines. And if you don't have kids, you know, the summer, you want to enjoy it. It calls you out. It calls you out to like go out away for the weekend or go out with your friends and have a good time and then just be able to do certain things while the sun is still out. And now we get the sun till about 8 o'clock, right? 8:30. So how are some ways that we can start asking for that or advocate for that flexibility at work? In the way we can ask, you know, maybe remote days or adjusted hours or any other ideas that you might have. Like, how do we start doing that? And how do we ask for it without seeming like we're not able to handle it because we're women and we have kids and how come the men don't ask for that? Any suggestions? I can start, by the way.
Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I went ahead for June. I had been having a conversation with my boss where they're like, hey, we need to have a manager on site on the weekend. So for many of you that don't know, I work as a service manager at a dealership. So I work front facing with customers constantly, and we're open. It's a 6-day operation. Saturdays is a long day. It's a 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. day. But, you know, we have so much influx of clients, of customers that come in on the weekends that we need to have someone that, you know, a manager at least on site in case something happens or someone needs to talk to a manager or just to oversee the operation, make sure things are running smoothly. So my boss was like, hey, I know you have a lot going on. When can you commit? So I had talked about, you know, we had baseball, we had this and school and all these commitments. I was like, you know what? I can do it in June. I'll do it in June. We won't have anything. The kids will be on vacation. I can start doing Saturdays in June and moving forward from there, you know? He's like, perfect. So for me, I was like, let me review everything here. And my boss is he's very understanding. I've mentioned how he's been very supportive. And, you know, I've been 6 months in, but since the moment he's like, I don't want to give you too much. I want to add on to things. Once you master this, I'll add something else to it. So I really appreciate that because for me, I'm just like, dame. But which is good because it's kind of a reminder of, slow the hell down. You don't need to do it all quite yet, but I want you to fully understand the things that you are going to be doing. So in this case, I was just like, I need when I saw these, alerts from school coming in, like all these responsibilities, especially for the beginning of June, I'm like, I need to put it into a calendar because I'm not going to be able to keep continuously ask this person to get a step out or come in late or leave early. So I'm like, how can I manage it so that I still show up as that manager at work that they're expecting to have, right? They're expecting me to show up as his manager and run operations. But then also, how can I also show up as, that mom that can, be there? So I automatically created a schedule. I gave him June, July, August. And I said, here's when you can expect me. Here's a few things that, I put in yellow. I kind of forwarded you guys that image just because I wanted, just to give you guys a snapshot of like my days off and kind of coordinate, the weekends. But I just went ahead and like, that's my, this is where I fit into this part of the schedule where you can expect me and kind of like in advance. And I asked him, can you please, do you feel that these are okay? Or is there any adjustments we need to make? And he was like, no, this is perfect. I'm like, okay. And if anything else comes up, I'll let you know. But as of now, this is how I foresee it for the beginning of June. But you have me here. These are the dates for the rest of the summer, in a sense. I gave him June, July, August. So this helps me prepare. But I felt that it was really like, hey, thank you for presenting for me. My boss was like, okay, great. I don't need to think of solutions for you. You thought of solutions for the team and how you're going to how you'll show up and when we're going to expect you. So there isn't that, we don't allow for that gap of, well, where is Vero? Where is the manager? Why isn't she here? It's more like, oh, my team also knows, oh, she won't be here till this time on this day. Or she's not here on Mondays, she'll be here Saturday. And there's an understanding because now they've been used to seeing me Monday through Friday, no matter what. So for me, it was that. And then also just mentioning, hey, coming September, there might be a few other days that I'm going to need. I'll go ahead and put those in advance out there for you, where they won't be days off, but at least, you'll understand where we're at, where I'm likely going to either be late to work or might need to take the day off instead of this normal day off. So I feel that when we present it, I wanted to come with a solution, not just like, I need this, what can you do? More of like, here's where you're going to have me. And you're going to have me when I'm here at 100%. And I'll show up like that. But for me, it's more of like presenting that schedule in advance. Hey, this is what we do. And I came with a solution. But what are other ways that maybe we can do that?
I can go. So this happened around March where I wanted to give my boss a heads up. So our ED oversees like the legal directors, and then legal directors manage their own department. So I'm a legal director and I manage my own staff, but then I report up. So and she's, our boss is like relaxed in the sense that like, yeah, you're a grown woman, like, how to manage your schedule, but I still want to be transparent and say, hey, this is what's going to be happening in the summer. I guess it also helps that she's a mom, so she gets it. But in March, and during one of my check-ins, I started by saying like, hey, as you know, or I don't know if you've noticed, but during the whole school year, I get here really early. Like I'm most times on the days that I do go to the office, I'm like the first one in the office. I make coffee. I didn't say all this, but I'm just saying I get here, around by 8:30, I'm in the office because I drop off the girls and I'm here. And then I just work my day, I leave between 4:30 and 5 when I'm done with whatever task I'm doing at the time. But I said, but come summer, our schedules change a bit because our girls are no longer in school and they don't have extended care and they don't have, that school starts right at 8. And so they're there by, 7:50 at school. They're doing camps. And so camps schedules are a little different where they start at 9 a.m. and I can't drop them off before 8:30. Like mostly I have to drop them off like 8:45, and then they end. Some of them end at 3 p.m. Some of them end at 4:30. I'm like, so my schedule's gonna be kind of depending on my husband's schedule because he has conferences. Some weeks will look different, and they won't be consistent like the rest of the school year is. So maybe I'll have to bring a kid here and there, or maybe I'm just gonna be here from 9:30 to 4 or whatever it is. She's like, yeah, that's fine. But I felt like I wanted to make it a point like, hey, as you know, the rest of the school year I'm here pretty early. Summers are gonna look a little different because the schedule changes, and she she's cool with that. She understands. And even this week, there's a policy in the office that everyone works 3 days in the office. And again, this week I was like, hey, my girls' last day of school is on Thursday, but they're only going to be at school for like 2 hours. So I have to pick them up at 10 a.m. Is it okay if I work from home on Thursday as well? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. And again, I know she's going to say yes. And I know that I could, make that, I probably wouldn't even have to tell her and she'd be okay. But, again, I want to be respectful. I want to be transparent. Like, this is what my schedule is going to look like. And because of X, Y, and Z that are, happening with my girls' schedules, like I have to be home on Thursday. So I think that's one way. Just kind of be, I don't know, ahead of time, like have that one-on-one ahead of time. Like, hey, this thing is changing in my family dynamic. But then, show like in my case, like I showed like, hey, the rest of the year I'm here earlier. So when summer comes and my schedule's a little different, like it's okay because I put in the work during the previous months.
I love it too that you said it, Ceci, that you're like con tiempo. And even though like we feel like we have to justify it, right? Like I've been here early and esto, but I'm sure my boss sees my efforts, right? They see what we do. And like any boss, like Irene is the boss, right? So people go to her. So like I want to hear what Irene's going to suggest too, because even though, we do manage departments or we manage this, like Irene's like the one that oversees all the departments, so I want to know kind of like her perspective as well. But with us, it's like, we know that the Irenes are watching us and they know how we produce the work and where we're turning in and the quality. So it's helpful that we do give a heads up out of respect, right? To knowing that everyone's time is valuable, work is valuable. They're clearly paying, our salaries and, everyone needs to show up because we all contribute. So I love that you're like, tenemos que decir, pero maybe it's a Latina thing también, that we're like, oh, let me just let you know, I've been killing it, just so you know, but it's going to change a little bit in the summer. I'm still going to kill it. I'm just not going to be as present as you might see me usually. So Irene, ¿tú qué sugieres?
Thanks, Vero, for asking. I was thinking about putting myself in the place of where I was before I was the boss and asking for these kinds of things, or now as the boss. I'll go from the place of now being the boss. I think that a big thing that has also shifted in our culture is that flexibility is now more common than ever before. So when I was looking for flexibility at work, people didn't often work from home. So I pitched to my boss the ability to work from home one day when I had small children, and she was all about it. But again, like Vero said, performance was key. Like I was one of her top performers. So of course she didn't care if I needed that flexibility. But part of me also took that job because it had a lot of flexibility. And so I want to start there, like for the women listening that just, you have a culture where flexibility is not possible, and you really want it, you're going to really start to have to deal with the fact that you may need to find another job. Because, for instance, teachers have to be on their campuses teaching. There's no way around it. You are going to work a very traditional 7 to 4 o'clock job. Some of you might laugh when you hear that and think, I'm working like 6 to 5. I don't know your schedule. I don't pretend to know it. But teachers can't ask for this sort of thing. But if flexibility is coming down the road for you and you feel like you need more than just those summers off, because that's flexibility for teachers, for instance, they can be home with their kids in the summer, you need to start thinking about a career change. Because I know I took my job because it had flexibility, and boy, has that evolved to be like such a flexible place to work. But I knew that I could have that down the road. So foresight's very important. I think if you want flexibility, think about who you're asking for that from. I don't know that Ceci, as a lawyer in your previous firm, if you could have had flexibility. I doubt that. I seriously doubt that you were in the career or with the firm that could offer you flexibility, because it's just not their culture. So I'll start there. This is for those that have the opportunity to go there, or you need to think about another career path if flexibility is going to be important to you as your family grows, for instance, or as your parents age, for instance. Now, me as the boss, the one thing I like to provide is a lot of flexibility for my staff, because I think it's compensation. For me, I saw it as compensation. All the time they're giving me off, I'm saving on childcare that's somewhere else, that I have to pay anyway. I'm saving on gas. I'm at home. That commute gets saved. I'm saving on eating. I don't eat out if I'm at home. So I like to see flexibility as compensation for my staff, but I also like to provide it in terms of seniority. Sorry to say that, but in our culture, it's like if you're the most entry-level person here, you're likely the one that has the least flexibility. It's just sort of the way it works. But not seniority like Vero, where she's new at her job, because seniority also has to do with rank and title. So you're more of a leader at your job. So leaders can expect more flexibility because they're leaders in their work. But if you're the most entry-level person at your job and you want the same flexibility as like a person like Vero who's leading a big old team, you're likely not going to get that. Like you're going to have to be there opening and closing and have like the crappy schedule because sorry, that's entry-level work. But we're trying to be fair with everyone. So at my organization, what we do is no matter what, like everybody has like their 3:00 Fridays. They've always had that. Like we don't work very late. Everyone gets to get out at noon before a 3-day weekend, before we shut down for the holidays, say if it's Thanksgiving. It's just like a flexibility we afford to everyone no matter your rank. Now, rank's a weird word, no matter your position, your title. Now, if you've been there and you have a team and you've worked a different sort of lifestyle and you have more responsibility, you're afforded more work from home opportunities. Like I have key staff that get to work 2 days from home or 1 day from home. In the summer, everyone can work from home Fridays for the most part. I think we have 2 staff that are pretty entry level that are there on Fridays, and even them, they get a lot of flexibility. So, Vero, that's the long and short answer, that it really depends on their role at our organization. We try to do something for everybody, and then others who have been there longer get a different type of flexibility. I have one mom, really. Most of my team are not moms, so there's that to consider. Like, I don't have to compete with a bunch of moms wanting the same holidays off. I'm a mom, obviously, but I don't count myself in that scenario. But I have one parent that I feel like she gets a different kind of flexibility, and I afford that to her. You know, she's got to get out early on minimum days with her kids, or she has to, her kid was in catechism, and that requires a certain commitment from her 1 day a week. I've been very flexible to that mom's needs, but where other staff get that same fairness is if they want to go back to school. I'm very flexible with people continuing their education. So I have for instance, a staff member that goes to school every Monday night. I don't expect her to work in the office on Mondays because I know that's her school day. So Vero, I'm all over the place with this because I do love, like I said, flexibility being part of their compensation, and I want everyone to have something. So whether it's your Fridays in the summer that you don't have to work in the office, or whether it's everybody leaves at 3 during the school year, or whether it's that mom or that student, like everybody's getting paid some version of flexibility at my organization. My team, when they work for very demanding periods, for instance, like they go to conferences or they're traveling with students to visit a college, or they are working back-to-back weekends because we have big weekend events, I like to give them a lot of comp days. That's flexibility too. So meaning you work 2 Saturdays in a row, maybe you work 2 to 3 hours. We'll take 2 days off during the week in a couple of weeks. Like that's a nice trade-off. It's like you're giving me 8 hours back for giving you 2 Saturdays in a row. Like that again is flexibility. That's free time. That's pay. We try to create that for mid-level, entry-level folks. So I'm trying to create flexibility opportunities all over the place. On top of that, we have a very generous package. Our human resources has been really, I think, top notch in terms of our employee manual. And like the longer you've been there, the more vacation time you get. We have a Christmas closure. I was just telling Ceci that we just instituted a summer closure. So we're going to have 2 weeks off no matter your title. No matter how long you've been at our organization, everyone's going to get the same 2 weeks off paid in the summer. They get 2 weeks off usually in December. It's kind of like 2 weeks. I think it's 10 days. But the point is that we are trying to create middle as part of our culture, flexibility in a lot of different ways. And that makes people really happy, I've noticed. And they're less likely to like bitch and complain about things when they're finding a lot of that comes their way. And also it's hard to leave a job that gives you so much flexibility. So you want to make the best of it. You want to be your best at a job. If they're paying pretty decently, if they give you a bonus and then they're giving you all this random time off paid, or they're very good to you in terms of like, hey, I can go to pick up my kid when there's minimum days. I can go and be a student. I can work my second job. I have staff that are entry level. I have staff that are younger and new to their career, and they have second jobs. So we're very flexible with their second job. Like they can tell us, Vero, like I can't work weekends because that's my H&M job. Got it. You know, we're very accommodating to that, Vero, because people got to make a living. So sometimes your flexibility may be in the form of like, you need to work another job. So you need to communicate that to your boss, and God willing, they will work with you because you are trying to make a decent livable wage. And sometimes that requires 2 jobs. So we are everywhere that we need to be as flexible as possible within reason. You also can expect a flexible job in a place where you also can't have flexibility.
And the other thing is, like, how do you address, let's say, for example, you start a new job. I know for me, working remote it's like not an option with my current job. So how would you address though? Let's say a company or an organization or a company says like, before you as you're jumping on, like, yeah, you'll have flexibility, you'll have this, but then you start working and then you notice that the work culture really doesn't allow for that. They're like, what do you mean you're going to not be here? But don't we have these days off? Well, yeah, but you still have to show up. Like, how would you handle that? Because I know that I'm sure the way the work culture is really how it will affect. Like, I know I've seen it also in, like, when I scroll through Facebook or I scroll through Instagram, or like I'll see, I had seen a post by someone we know, obviously, because on IG we follow mostly people that we know, and then there's a lot of people we don't know. But there was someone that we knew, and that's when I was at home, and she was kind of posting about how, she was a director in her position, and she's like, she had just had her first baby, but she's like, I'm only going to take these time away. Like, I think that we need to show up at work no matter what. Like, having a kid is, great, but we have these responsibilities at work. And a lot of everyone that was messaging to her was like, well, enjoy that time away. And no one was like, hey, this is your first child. Maybe, it's okay to step away and take your full time, your full maternity leave, instead of having to rush back, because that time, you don't know where we're going to be feeling, all that stuff. But no one really stepped in to say, hey, reconsider that because of whatever reason. And to her, it was more of like, being Latina doesn't mean I'm going to, having to step away. Yes, family is important, but I still have this role to play. And I'm like, híjole, like, how do we, that's someone in a leadership role. And it was like, how are the women that possibly work in this team, how are they going to feel if they choose to want to take that extra time? So that's one side of it. And the other side of it is like, hey, there's this flexibility, but we really aren't allowed to use that flexibility. Like, how would we address that? How would you address that?
I really like that question. I think that comes down to like fairness. I'm always looking at my organization, like what you do for one thing, you have to be willing to do for everyone. So I just said something different. I talked about seniority and kind of roles. That's because they're different roles. But overall policies, for instance, like maternity leave, you can't do one setup for one person that you're not willing to do for another person, because they're both women on maternity leave. They're equals. Who cares what their job is? She's worked there a year. She's worked there 10 years. She's her boss. They both require the same maternity leave by law, number one. And then what is your policy, number two? So in that example, Vero, it's interesting because that woman's like, I got to get back to it. But how's that making the other woman feel that's like, no, girl, I'm taking 16 weeks and I might take my extra 4 weeks of vacation. And I think that's when you need to have your policies crystal clear and be very clear with people. Like, this person's choosing their path. They're afforded all this time. We're putting it in writing. They can take all this time, and this is how it works. And this is who pays them, whether it's us or the government, right? Their benefits, their state benefits or federal benefits. But they're choosing, and that's between them and their leadership, their own time. The next person that's deciding to take leave, you choose your own time. Your time may look very different than their time, but you're all by law afforded these things the same. I think that's very important because you cannot pick and choose. Like, you cannot base it on, oh, tú me caes super bien, like you take the extra month, you don't even have the vacation time, because you're going to have a pickle. You're going to have some problems, right? There has to be reasoning for why they're taking different times off, because it just can't be, I decided to give you one thing and decided to give you another thing. So that's number one, having a clear policy and being very candid with people who do less. More power to you, but to the next person, you're entitled to more. No pressure, because that sucks. I think that sucks when like super women want to come back to work and be at work. And what about the other woman that's like, I don't want to come back. I'm more like that woman. I don't want to come back. Exactly. I'm glad that she came back in 12 weeks. I'm taking 16 plus 4 of my vacay. I'll be back in 20 weeks. Like, for me, for instance, when I had my baby, the only person that had a baby at my job was my boss at the time. And she used to bring her baby to work, my second baby in the job that I am now. And I told her point blank, like, so am I going to be able to bring my baby to work? Like, I asked point blank, and she looked at me like, no. Like, and I thought to myself, you're bringing your baby to work. What's the difference here? You're the boss and you're the older white woman. Like, so you got to give me the reasoning. And it was interesting because she thought about it. I guess she took it to the board, came back to me and said, yeah, you can bring your baby to work. She even brought me some stuff for my baby to play with at the office. But I immediately asked for something that I saw some other person do. Like, you can't have different perks. Now, if she would have run back to work, Vero, and come back earlier, say 8 weeks, and I really wanted 16, I would have been gone to 16. Like, I don't care that my boss is like superwoman and came back, but what does the policy say? So that's my 2 cents for people being on leave and not taking their leave and how other people look at it. Like, look at the policy one and also expect what is fair. If you're seeing other things happen for other people that you want, you got to ask those questions. Like, how do they get that? How do I get that perk? Mm-hmm. Again, within reason. Like, if they come back to you and say, this is just a perk that the boss has, look at our employee manual. Okay, I've never heard of anything like that, but I could have been told that at all. My boss could have been like, no, the only role that can do this is at the executive director level, and this is where I have it written out, for instance. I know you had another question. I'll let Ceci tackle that one. I think you had another scenario.
I'm not going to add much because I agree with everything that Irene said. You know, cada quien lo que puede y lo que quiere hacer, as long as like the policy is, you know, is fair across the board, or unless it's like you said, it's stated in the bylaws or the collective bargaining if you're a union. But also, you won't know until you get there. I think I've said this before on the podcast. I used to think, you know, when I was going through motherhood journey or first became pregnant, I really thought I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to work as soon as I can, or I'm going to go back to work knowing, or I'm going to go back to work. And then, you know, as we all know, and if you are just tuning in for the first time to Level Up Latina, I ended up taking 2 years after having my baby. Actually, no, when the girls were 2. But I was that person. Like, I didn't think I was going to need much time off. I thought I was going to just enjoy it and go back to work. But as I was navigating those months, as I was pregnant, and, you know, mind you, I had twins, I was like, no, I want to be off like the most time possible. And I ended up being off for 6 months. And then, you know, and then worked back at the private law firm. And then I ended up taking time off when the girls were 2. So again, you don't know until you're there already with the babies and being a mom. So, you know, cada quien, but again, you won't know until you're there experiencing it.
And then same thing with like just starting a job, right? And they say, here are your benefits. Let's say you're not a mom. Let's say you're just starting your new job. And they said, you know, you have this flexibility. You get these days off, but then you notice that no one takes time off. No one does this. And you're like, but I want to. And that could probably hinder, you know, like keep you from wanting to ask for this flexibility. But I'll say, then challenge it. You know, like, yeah, I get it. This is what the work culture you've established, but you sold me this and I agreed to this. And this is in writing of what the benefits that you give me, meaning this flexibility, this time off, this sick time. Because I know, I'll give you a good example. For me, when I agreed the terms of my engagement with my job, my terms, you know, being hired, my offer, I was like, hey, I am a mom of 4. I am going to need the flexibility. More than likely, you know, I'm going to need that time in the mornings to get my kids to school and to work. Since we're an operation of 7 to 6, I'm likely be able to I'll close the majority of the time. If needed, I will open, which is at 7 a.m. I'm like, but that will be maybe in the summertime. This is when I am available. Are you guys willing to work with me despite that? And that was an agreement. So when I started work, I knew my agreement. But then some of the people I was managing, they started jokingly calling me, hey, part-timer, right? And I was like, hey, I'm like, yeah, part-timer, here I am, right? And I was like, actually, do you understand, my terms and of my employment? What you do is very different. You do need to be here at 7. You need to be here till this time. You need to be here doing X, Y, Z. My role accepts me to do this and this and that and the other. And the terms within me and our boss are different than the ones that you have because my role is different. So it's very jokingly like, oh my gosh, she gets here at 9. We've been here for 2 hours already. What the heck? So I'm saying that environment can kind of create pressure into why are you doing this? Why are you asking for this time off? Or why are you, oh, you called in sick. Oh, great. You don't show up. I called in sick, I think once in the 6 months. And it was just, I'm like, I need a piece. I just need a moment, especially after having taken on so much more responsibility at work unexpectedly, and then the normal drive of motherhood and wifeyhood. So I was like, I need a day. I just need a day today. But other than that will influence, in a sense, how you show up and how you take advantage of that flexibility. I'm going to say, who cares? I'm going to tell you, if that's what you're noticing, but you need the time off or you want to take that break or take that vacation, go for it, because those are terms outlined already in your terms of agreement of employment. But how do you think, how would you handle that, or what would you suggest?
I love that question. And you're right. Your job offer is different than another person's job offer. And I will say that I see this a lot because people make a lot of assumptions in workplaces. They don't know other people's arrangement. They don't know the perks. They just see surface level, and so they make comments. And you said that at every organization, no matter the size. So I think that always falls to the boss, because the boss may not be aware that that's happening, but the boss should, in a global setting, set the tone, in my opinion, for what everyone should expect. So I intentionally, when I see that happen, if I see people having assumptions about other people's roles, it's like, oh, they don't know, they're making an assumption. New people, especially entry-level people in my organization, sometimes expect us all to have the same working hours or the same commitment. So I very quickly make sure that they understand that different roles have different expectations. So for instance, when there's a Saturday morning event, and who are you seeing there at 7 a.m.? It's often our direct support staff, people that work with students, people that are coordinating the event A to Z. You may not see someone who's in the fundraising department there at 7 a.m. It's not their job to be there at 7 a.m. If they stroll in at 9 a.m. because they're helping, that needs to be said, Vero. And sometimes people don't know, and they start to make those assumptions. And it's like, why is it only our department here at 7? Because that's literally the way it works, and that's the culture. And when it's the other department's job, they're the ones at 7 a.m. and you'll be strolling in at 9 a.m. But people don't know that early on, and it's often the boss's job. So me as a CEO, I'm very intentional of watching. That's the CEO's job, really. You're watching dynamics, you're watching commentaries, gossip. You may not have all the pictures, but you know, especially if you've been there long enough, to see when people are making assumptions that can then create negative culture or negative commentary. So then you say to a global setting, something like a staff meeting, and to be clear, we all know this is how it works, and this is where they show up, and why they show up at this time, and they show up at that time. And it should be said. Something should be said in your defense, not coming from you, because then that sets the tone with everybody else. Like, it checks people, even if they realize they were doing it or not. Like, ooh, I'm motivated. Like, this person stays till 6:30 every day, but I'm not here to see that because I left at 4, and I'm assuming they stroll in at 9 and leave at 4:15. Homie, they're there 2 hours later than you. So I do like to set the tone with people that I see there's assumptions there where they may not get pay grade, job responsibilities, job offers. Everybody gets different job offers. Sometimes we do that in the form of general trainings. Like, you mask it with a training. We're going to train everyone on hours and operations and how it works. But you know you're doing it to check people that are probably thinking the wrong thing. They just don't have the information. So we're going to train everybody on the information in air quotes. And you're not actually doing that. You are basically setting the tone for expectations so people can stop judging others because they actually don't have the full picture. But I see assumptions get culture in trouble all the time. People are assuming that they know the answers. No one stops to tell everyone together what they should be thinking or how things are working. And then, and sometimes, unfortunately, that leads to drama. Then you're on your own, kind of like, they're looking at me one way. My boss doesn't think I'm letting them down. My boss knows I'm doing my job, that I'm overworking, that I'm here, that I'm prepared. But these people, I'd be offended if they were calling me part-timer. Because knowing you, you're probably killing it and working harder than anybody else. Your job is probably so much harder than theirs, and they're calling you part-timer. Like, if someone were to call me part-timer at my job, be like, oh, part-time, then we should pay everybody half because I'm only fundraising part-time. I'd be hella offended and really quickly reaffirm. So everyone should get paid half? That would be like, well, hell no, girl. You're a full-timer. Like, you work full-time because you got to pay me a full-time. Just kidding. So if I were you, if those little jokes continue, I'd do something about that. I'd have your boss do something about that. I'd have some supervisor do something about that and reaffirm that, like, you don't know everybody's life schedule arrangement. You don't even have to know. You don't have to be told, but just know that everyone has a different expectation arrangement, and that's between them and their boss. And again, it soothes over, like, assumptions that create gossip and just like people not getting the culture. And then people not taking time off. You said that earlier. Take the damn time off. Who cares if you come into a culture where people do not take the time off? If you can take the time off, sit in the embarrassment because you may feel embarrassment because you want to be like everybody else and you want to be perceived a certain way. No, you take your PTO. You take it and take it on fire. Flame through it.
Yes, take your time off. You earned it. It's there. It's like, take advantage of it. Do it. It's like, you need your time off. You need to take breaks and then come back more motivated. One thing that I was thinking is also when you're leading and managing a staff. In my case, it's only well, right now it's only one because I only have a paralegal. But before I had a staff attorney, also the way they show up, like, you know, they earn certain things the way they show up. My paralegal has been with us for a year, and she is very she has initiative. She does things really meticulously, very organized, just the way, like, and I guess it helped also that she was working in a private law firm before coming to us, but also, like, I love the way she organizes, like, when I ask her to like, hey, can you follow up on this? Like, she's already done it. Like, so she's earned all these things where when she asks me like on a Friday, like, hey, is it okay if I log on like at 3 or 4? Like, yes, you can, because she's done all these things and she's put in the work already. So also, yeah, the way you show up and the way you do things like also allows you to earn those little perks where, you know, it's easy for you to get, you know, the time off because you put in the work.
The tip of the day, performance equals perks.
Yes.
Performance equals perks. So for those of you listening that may be not performing and complaining and expecting with your hand out, ooh, and you're wondering about other people that might just be getting all these perks, how is their performance? And then I'm not saying like I get a lot of people that tell me, oh, just because they're kiss ass, just because they get along with the boss, just because they're their favorite. It's like, just look at you. What can you control? How do you show up? What's your schedule like? Are you on time? Are you going above and beyond? Do you take initiative? What have you done independently? Like, that's going to get you perks. Performance equals perks. Like, you perform, you do a good job, you're likely going to get benefits. God willing, you know, nothing is promised, but that's the tip of the day. Perform and then expect those perks.
There you go. Show up, perform, do good, do what you have to do. I love it. Take away this initiative, show up, you know, and performance equals perks. So if there's any other last minute tips, I mean, we can send that, we could put that onto our post for the podcast. But I want to thank you all for listening in. Just if you have any, you want to share and contribute to the conversation, feel free to send that over to us. And so thank you for tuning in today. You know where to find us if you want to find us, okay? Siempre encuentras lo que buscas y a veces hasta más. So you can always find us at leveluplatina.com. You can find out about our coaching services. You heard some of the, you know, experiences we're having in the workplace as, you know, in management and different levels of management, from the CEOs to the department leads to, you know, running teams. So you know that we offer a variety of experience here, and we definitely have been through it. So we are here to help. So find us on leveluplatina.com, join our collective. We are going to, you know, as currently we're in the summer series collective. So we're likely now halfway through. But we will have another one coming up, and you can always join our guilt-free squad. We meet monthly calls. We meet monthly for our monthly call. And yeah, if you want to follow us on the socials, you can find us on Instagram and the Face. It is at Level Up Latina. And if you ever want to shoot us an email or, you know, continue the conversation, you can always message us at admin@leveluplatina.com. With that, las dejamos. Hopefully, you know, this gave you some good, you know, ideas of how to ask for that flexibility or take advantage of the flexibility that you've been offered in your workplace. Please put it to action, and let's enjoy the summer. Que ponernos bien calientonas y buenonas. De cuarentonas. Because, you know, we be getting the hot flashes, girl. You know, we be getting the hot flashes.
Yes.
So,
yes, for sure.
Hopefully you're enjoying your summer. Las queremos mucho, los queremos. Las queremos sex con las X, si quieren. But we are here, and we'll see you on the next one. Se cuidan.
See you on the flip side. Thank you.
Besos.